welcome to Life Equals Opportunity podcast, and I am your host as always, Leo. Today we're going to do the daily reflections. I'll share a little bit on it, and then I have decided to add a step series, and today will be step 1. And then I'm going to try and do this as a weekly step series. So next week will hopefully be step 2. And we will just go from there and see how it progresses. So here we go. Partners in Recovery, Daily Reflections, December the 16th. Nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 89 and 100. Doing the right things for the right reasons. This is my way of controlling my selfishness and self-centeredness. I realize that my dependency on a higher power clears the way for peace of mind, happiness and sobriety. I pray each day that I avoid my previous actions so that I will be helpful to others. I absolutely love it. I'm going to keep my share short on this because obviously we're doing a step series now. But that is incredible. You know, it was so important in my recovery to work with other alcoholics, both having a sponsor, and then I've been fortunate enough to sponsor people as well. It's a key rule is number 1, don't work harder for anyone else's program than they work for themselves, and rule number 2 is to check rule number 1. And if you keep that in mind and keep to the traditions and the steps and the way and the principles of the program, then for me, I was able to then gain a better life. And it's beyond my wildest dreams. And I don't have much. I really don't. But what I do have, I'm really grateful for. And when the hard times come up, as they do, you have good times and bad times. That's life, ups and downs. But because of my higher power, because of the connection I have with him, I'm just able to get through anything that comes my way. And the last few months in particular have been very difficult. The last 6 months, really. And it's okay because with my higher power and help of my fellowship with from others in recovery, and being able to talk to people that have walked through that life and experienced it, and then consult my higher power on that as well. I just try to do his will for me, which is just to be kind and loving and do the next right thing. And in living that way, I have got to a very I want to say peaceful place in my life right now. I'm at peace with who I am. I'm at peace with who I was. I'm very content with everything I have. I'm full of gratitude, and there's nothing I need. So that being said, I'll read the daily reflections one more time, and then I will go into the second part, which is a step series. Woohoo! Partners in Recovery, December the 16th. Nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 89 and 100. Do the right things for the right reasons. This is my way of controlling my selfishness and self-centeredness. I realize that my dependency on a higher power clears the way for peace of mind, happiness and sobriety. I pray each day that I will avoid my previous actions so that I will be helpful to others. Right, wicked, and let's go on to the next part of the show. So now for the new part of the podcast. So today we're going to start a step series. Obviously, we are going to start on step 1. So we're going to get straight into it. Obviously, I'm Leo, and this is the 12 steps. So step 1. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to dive into step 1. What is step 1? We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable. This step is the foundation. It's the first door that we walk through on the journey to recovery. Today I'm going to share what it was like for me in those early days and how I came to understand the problem and how the literature helped me relate to the bigger picture. So here we go. So my early days in AA, when I first walked in, I fell into my AA rooms. I was literally in a hospital and my first meeting was going to a Zoom meeting. I fell into the room and from then I just kept going back. I didn't know what I was getting into, that's for sure. I understood that I had a problem. I wouldn't have been there otherwise, would I? I mean, they used to say that you know, they've not met anyone yet that's gone there and go, oh no, I'm in the wrong place. But I didn't really grasp how big the problem was. It wasn't just drinking, though that was bad enough. It was the way my whole life was tangled up in denial, chaos, and hopelessness. I didn't know that yet. The early meetings were quite overwhelming. There are lots of different meetings, lots of variety out there, and I'd recommend that you try many. Obviously, you hear people sharing their stories, and it was like, for me, it was hearing my own story. But at the same time, I still didn't think I should be there. I didn't belong. I'd never belonged. There was a part of me that wanted to believe I wasn't that bad. I thought I could fix things, I guess we all tried, but then I kept hearing this phrase, we admitted we were powerless. And honestly, that idea absolutely terrified me. Being powerless, having to admit defeat, surrender, completely become coherent to the idea that I am powerless. And then you discover the literature. We use the Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the big book. I absolutely love it. Someone suggested to me that I read the doctor's opinion and more about alcoholism from the big book. I didn't expect much, to be honest. Wasn't great at reading, wasn't a great writer, definitely wasn't a great speller. And I certainly wasn't looking to be preached to. But something about those two chapters in particular hit, and I mean it hit differently. All of a sudden my story was actually written before I was even, born. The doctor's opinion, Dr. Stilford describes alcoholism as an illness, a disease of both body and mind. He talks about this phenomenon of craving that makes it impossible for alcoholics to control their drinking once they start. And that idea, it shook me. Because I'd been there so many times telling myself I'd just have one or two. And then was waking up and the next day, the next week, whatever, with no memory of how I got where I was or why there was, just a chaos around me. But it was more than just a physical craving. There was, I believe there was a mental obsession. And that's what got me, the voice in my head that just kept telling me it would be different this time, that I could handle it, just do something different. Reading those chapters, it was like someone had finally, as I say, put into words what I couldn't explain, not even to myself. I wasn't just weak-willed or irresponsible, I was sick. And that realisation was both humbling and freeing. It gave me a framework to understand my behaviour, and my inability to stop on my own. You can, I then then came more about alcoholism. That chapter pulled absolutely no punches. It's full of these stories about people who kept trying to control their drinking, just like I did. Even after they knew it was destroying their lives. That's the crazy thing with this disease, we see what it's doing, but we don't want to accept it. We want to convince ourselves and the world that we're not hurting anyone but ourselves, if anyone. One guy switched from liquor to beer, thinking he could solve the problem. Another only drink at parties. The bottom line is, whatever we tried, or whatever I tried, it all ended up in the same place with powerlessness and defeated. As I read, I started to feel myself in those stories, relating to many. I tried everything as well, drinking on weekends, limits, quitting for a week. None of it worked. And the scariest part, every time I didn't succeed, the consequences got worse. My relationships, my health, my sanity. It was all spiralling out of control. What really stood out to me was this line: the idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. I mean, wow, if that doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks, I don't know what does, because that was me. I kept chasing this illusion that I could drink like a normal person, whatever a normal person is, even though all the evidence that I had to go over said otherwise. Reading those chapters, it kind of forced me to confront the truth. And to do that, you need to be rigorously honest. I wasn't just someone with a bad habit. I was an alcoholic. And until I could admit that, I was never, ever going to get better. And that's where step one came in. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. For me, it wasn't just about, not just about saying those words, it's about truly accepting them. I had to let go of the illusion of control. I had to stop fighting the reality of my situation and start actually looking at it head on. Looking back, I think step one is about surrender. But not in the way that means giving up. It's about accepting the truth so you can start to heal. And for me, the early readings in the big book were key. They helped me understand what was happening to me, and they helped me see that I wasn't alone. There is a way out. There was a way out. But I had to start with admitting I couldn't do it on my own. And that, quite honestly, is a very, very difficult admission. It was one I didn't want to admit, and in the end, that's what you have to do, and just work with people. I just want to say thank you very much. I hope that helps some of you on step one. I have decided that I will do a step two next week, so it'll be like a weekly series, and I'll try and post each Monday or Tuesday, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much for tuning in. I, as always, am Leo, your host here at Life Equals Opportunity. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Take care. Love you all, guys.